Okay, so Derek here with the vlog update, and today our topic is going to be importing Skyline to the USA. And so, suddenly this company became very popular for people wanting to import Skylines into the USA. I think one customer bought a Skyline, and then after that it was posted on opposite lock, and we just got emails by the hundreds from people in the US that want to import a Skyline, because as of last September this car is now importable into the States, and now everybody wants it because the US has been waiting years and years because of a stupid law stating that the car has to be 25 years old before it can be imported. Basically what that is all of the companies that have the most amount of money, they get to write the rules for the imports into the States as protectionism for them. Now, I'll talk briefly about that. I don't want to go into a lot of detail about it, but what happened is back in the 1980s, you could import any car that you want into the US as long as you paid your money, your duty, and whatever. But it turned out that that was really hurting the bottom line of a lot of car manufacturers, because they wanted to be able to sell a car in the US for a really high price, and they couldn't do that because people were just buying the cars outside of the market and bringing them in. In particular, this was happening a lot with Mercedes, and in particular I think it was the 500e vehicle, because you could only get that car with the smaller engine in the US at that time. And so Mercedes and possibly some others got together and they kind of pushed their weight around, and they said, look, we need to change this because we're losing all this money. And now the rule is 25 years old, unless there's a very small exception, but probably the car doesn't qualify for that. And if it does, do your research about that, because you need to know a lot. But in general, 25 years old, so that means as of this video, the cars have to be 1990 April or older. And that means the Skyline can be imported. And so, the thing with this is that there are a finite amount of Skylines in Japan, and there are mountains of people who want to buy them. And because the best way to buy cars from Japan is through auction, the prices of the cars is going up. And dealers in Japan notice that the price of the cars have gone up because they set their prices based on auction price stats. And so all across Japan we've seen an increase in the price of the Skyline. How much does it cost to import a Skyline? Well, there are a few different models. There's the non-turbo model with a 2-liter inline 6. There's the turbo model with the 2-liter inline 6. And then there's the GTR, which has the 2.6-liter inline 6. It's very important to note that engine swaps, which are common for GTRs, engine swaps are not allowed to be imported into the USA, but it's questionable how they find out if the car has had an engine swap or not. And so if you want to be on the safe side, don't import a car that has had the engine swapped, and you should be fine. If you want to chance it, I don't think you're going to get caught, but it's really up to you if you want to risk your money. That's a lot of money that you don't want to lose. And so, prices, the non-turbos you can get for about 400. I guess, you know, most people who are watching this are going to be US buyers, and so I might as well say in US dollars. A non-turbo 4-door, 2-door will run you about $2,500 or so. The turbo 4 doors or 2 doors are pretty expensive at about $5,000 to $6,000. GTRs are about $8,000 to $15,000 depending on the condition. This is just the price of the cars at the auction. After you buy the car, you also have to add on your exporter service fee. For us, that's 100,000 yen, or about $800. Nice Toyota Crown there. Can you see that? You have to add on also your shipping costs, which to the West Coast is about $1,200, and to the East Coast is more. Interestingly, I've heard that there are some companies that are quoting prices that are lower than that. We've searched around a lot, and I have a feeling like the people who are quoting those lower prices aren't being completely honest, or they don't know the actual cost of shipping. They hear a quote like it's about this much, because in reality, the cost of the import of the car depends on the size of the vehicle and the exchange rate at the time. And so, say you bought a GTR, you spent 10 grand on it, then you spend another $800 on our fee, another $1,000 for shipping, and then import tax. Import tax is 2.5%, and you also have to pay about $500 in customs brokerage fees, port fees, DOT registration, EPA. If you buy through a company like us, we have a lot of experience sending to the USA now, and so we have a system that takes care of everything. So basically, you take the car, you go to the registration office, and then you say, here's my car, I imported from Japan, please register this for me, and then you pay just a little bit at the registration office. It really couldn't be easier to buy a car from Japan and get registered. The tricky part is finding a good car, because the cars are 25 years old. Like a 25 years old car, that's older than a lot of the buyers that are going to be buying these cars. Lots of traffic today. And so cars that old are generally not in very good condition, interior, exterior, and rust-wise. All Nissans are weak when it comes to rust. In particular, the Skylines rust a lot in the suspension towers and the underside. It seems like about half of them have rust problems. That might be okay if you can fix the rust, but otherwise you're not looking at those cars. Mileage of the 25-year-old ones ranges from about 100,000 kilometers to about 200,000 kilometers. Always lower mileage is better, but you can sometimes get a nice car with higher mileage. The thing about the Skylines, though, is that... Let me just merge here. Thank you. Okay, going through the toll booth. Yeah, the thing with the Skylines, though, is they are the high schooler's car, basically. Now, in Japan, when you're in high school, you can't drive because you're not old enough. But by high schooler's car, what I mean is the car that is everybody's first car, performance car, that gets bagged like nothing else by the driver because it's a cheap car. 5 years ago, these Skyline GTS-Ts were $1,000. Now think about what you can get for $1,000 in your market and the type of person who's going to buy that car. And also consider the fact that the Skyline R32s are popular cars for drifting. There are a lot of these cars that are in really rough shape with questionable mods on them. The actual number of cars that I would consider is pretty low. I think that of all the available cars for import right now, I would only really recommend about the top 20% of them. And unfortunately, what we're seeing here is people are buying the good cars, the bad cars, and the terrible cars like crazy. In fact, the terrible cars are going for really expensive fees. And what's happening is there just isn't enough stock to go around, and so companies are buying the bad cars. And because the US market, they're not familiar with cars from Japan, and because there's so much hype over the Skyline name, what's happening and what's going to happen is people are going to be importing cars to flip and get a profit, and the cars are going to be really bad. And so if you're looking at a car that's already landed in the USA, or you're looking at a dealer car, there's a good chance that that car is beat up, because 80% of the cars are beat up and trashy. And so make sure that you look it over in detail before you decide if you're going to buy. The nice thing about buying the cars from the auctions is that you get the independent auction inspection sheet. In particular, you get to know a lot about the rust on the car, any mechanical signs of failure, rips in the interior, cigarette burns, any dents and things. And trust me, pictures hide everything in a car. If I take a picture of a car, you won't be able to see medium-sized dents on it, most likely. You can only really see dents either in person or in a video, and that's why we're so specific about taking videos of the cars that we sell. Side panel video, walk-around video, interior check, cold engine start, all of that stuff. So it is really buyer beware. 25-year-old cars are more prone to problems. if you try to cheap out on the car and bid low, you're going to be more susceptible to have a problem with that car. And if you're looking for a good car, it could take a really long time unless you're really solid with your bids and you're bidding realistically every time. If you try to low bid everything, it's going to take a long time. It's going to also, there's a very good chance that you could have a problem with that car. And as a company, we don't want anybody to have problems with the cars, and so I think that we take a lot of care to make sure that nobody gets disappointed. And to be honest, with 25-year-old cars, it does happen. No matter how careful we are as a company, there are some times that we're going to get a car that just is not good. And that's the reality of buying a Skyline, whether you buy from a dealer, an already imported one, or whatever. So I guess that's just a basic outline of buying a Skyline from Japan, an R32. Keep in mind that this video is taken in early 2015 and the market's going to change a lot over time. So what I say now is not particularly going to be relevant come 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. And so thanks for watching, everybody. If you have questions about this video, you can post them in the comments. I'll check that out. I also do a questions cast. I don't know what I want to call it yet, but so if you have certain questions and I like those questions, then I'm going to answer the questions while I'm driving. So click subscribe to this channel if you want to see that sort of thing. If you like the channel, feel free to share it. This is a brand new channel. This is only like our second or third video, and so I'm really excited to get this channel out there so that people can see it. So if you like it, chances are your friends are going to like it as well. So thank you very much for watching. That's going to be the end of the video. Bye-bye.